Minnesota fired their what was his official role? I don't know. Whatever. The guy who was in charge of basketball decisions, Gerson Rosas, possibly because he was carrying on a extramarital relationship, consensual extramarital relationship with a staffer on the Timberwolves. I guess this had something also to do with their unhappiness with how he was conducting his operations, with how he was running the basketball team. It's on the eve of training camp, so it's a bad look. There's been a lot of spin since then. Brilliant athletic article by, you want to talk about spin cycle? Did you read the Shams postmortem about how this was months in the making and they needed to do this now? And it's just,
God, I did not read it, but
you should, dude, you should, it's good. It's high level spin. Whatever. We don't have to engage in that. Karl-Anthony Towns, was a former client of Leon Rose, went to Kentucky, played for Tom Thibodeau. I don't feel
what did he do, John? What happened?
Well, he said what after, what was it? 5 minutes after the firing was announced, he tweeted out WTF, which even me, old man, knows stands for what the fuck. I mean, I kind of had this conversation a little bit with Chip Murphy on his pod. So it was more because it had just happened and they wanted me to talk about it. And I talked about it. This is not a conversation I want to have right now. I don't think we need to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't want to trade for Karl-Anthony Towns. We can't trade for Karl-Anthony Towns because the money doesn't work, because of the rules in terms of when you could trade players who were just signed over the summer. So this is literally a non-issue right now. But he's a potential top 10 player in the league. He may be unhappy. He has 3 years left on his contract. It's going to be a story. It's not a story I want to think about yet. That's my position. I'm curious what you think.
Well, first, I'm just curious. When you say potential top 10 pick,
potential top 10 player,
top 10 player, excuse me. Do you mean down the line? Do you mean next season?
I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns has the talent to be one of the 10 best players in the NBA. I think right now. I think he has that talent right now. He's not. I mean, he averaged, I think, a career high. I forget if it was a season ago or 2 seasons ago. 4.6 assists. He's been over 4 the last couple seasons. So, you're not getting Jokic playmaking from that spot. You're not even getting Randall playmaking, but you're getting a little bit of playmaking. A guy who could make the pass when it needs to be made. And when you combine that with, I don't know what his 3-point percentage is, but it's pretty good, and the volume is there. And then you throw in the fact that he's pretty devastating down low. Offensively, he's there. So what has it been? It's been injuries. It's been a complete lack of giving, even not a whole turd. He doesn't even give a little pebble of a turd of a shit on defense. The smallest little nothing. No shits given at all. And it's been like that for years. And Zach Lowe talked about this recently on his podcast. I remember watching the guy in Kentucky, as I'm sure you do. I thought that was going to be his calling card more than the offense when he came into the league. And so I think the fact that he just, you want to be the face of a franchise. You want to talk all the game about how you're going to turn things around and this is going to be different now. And I never know how to parse out, is the franchise having the negative effect on him, or is the player having the negative effect on him? I think it's more the franchise having the negative effect on him, because the Timberwolves have a much longer track record of tomfoolery than Towns does. But I think he has it in him. So if you combine that with the offense, I mean, yeah, I think he has the potential. I think he could be a top 10 player right now if he puts in the effort and if he wants to be.
Gotcha. I was just curious what you meant by it, because I view him highly. I just don't view him in that level.
And that's fair. I mean, he hasn't earned it.
Right. And also there are a lot of incredibly talented players that he would have to supplant to get to the top 10.
Dame is maybe the 10th best player in the league right now, right?
Right. And Dame is incredible.
Dame's could win the fucking MVP this year for all we know. It's Karl-Anthony Towns is not Dame. So yeah, I get that.
So I guess we could probably start with the Timberwolves, right? The Timberwolves are not going to willingly trade Karl-Anthony Towns right now. He's got 3 years left on his deal.
Yeah, no options, and it's just straight 3 years.
Right. And I still maintain that with this new 2025 contract coming in, that will affect the CBA. Probably not like what we saw in 2016, but it's still going to be more money coming in. I think guys like him and Booker are going to sign 1 year extensions so that they hit their 10th year, the year that the new contract comes in.
So like a 1+1 with one year, with
just a 1 year option? Extension, like a 1 year max, right? So I'm saying in 2023, I'm guessing they sign 1 year maxes. It sets themselves up for a 35% contract in a new year when the cap goes up, as opposed to in 2024 when it'd be a 30% max, and then the new TV deal hasn't kicked in yet.
So you're saying the moment that Towns becomes eligible to sign some sort of extension, which will be next
2023.
Can he sign it with 2 years left on his deal?
He could. I think he regardless.
He could.
He probably could.
Okay. But he probably, I agree with you. He's probably not going to. Okay.
Right. Adding a 1 year max onto both of their things, both their contracts. And then that way they're eligible for more money regardless, right? Let's just say he does become a free agent in 2024. No way out. He'd have to force the trade. We're looking at the Ben Simmons situation. This isn't nearly as bad as that. The Wolves can also just say, no, we don't want to do that. Look what we did. We've built around you the way you want. We got D'Lo you're close with. We just drafted Anthony Edwards first overall. Yep. We've made trades to help address the defense. We're working with you. We have a coach that is bringing out the best in you. All we're doing is just kicking out the top guy, but Gupta is still going to be in charge, or at least he'll be in charge now.
We think. Yeah.
Right. Then you factor in the Knicks. As you said, the Knicks can't move any big contracts right now anyway, because they just signed Julius Randle. He can't physically be moved because of the new contract. Same thing with Fournier, Kemba Walker, Burks, Noel, Rose, all these guys. The biggest contract the Knicks could move right now is RJ Barrett, and they're not going to do that. Then there's the philosophy of fitting Karl-Anthony Towns even on this team, right? Let's say it gets to the point where the Wolves say, all right, Karl-Anthony, we're going to give in. You want to trade, we'll trade you. Then the Knicks getting Karl-Anthony Towns. Number one, I think I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, if the price is right, I want, it depends on the deal. Listen, guys, if you think Karl-Anthony Towns is as good as he is with 3 years left on his deal, there is no if the price is right. No. It's okay. How much are we going to have to pay for Karl-Anthony Towns? And it's a lot. It's a lot, right? Yeah. And it's the sort of thing of what are you even left over with? And then how are you going to, because if you're cashing all your chips in on a big who I ultimately think doesn't work with Randle on defense either.
There's something about it that I don't like.
Yeah. And exactly. The offense, I get it, right? Like, and I've talked about this before. In theory, sure.
You get it, but like again, show me the last two. I hate. I know you can't use the term traditional big man with Karl-Anthony Towns because he shoots threes, and so does Randle and the whole thing. But like, there's still two big guys who like move like big guys, like, and they're not like neither of them was LeBron James. Let's just say it like that. Like He's the exception. He's the big guy that's not a big guy. This is different. I don't love it.
Right, and that's the thing to think about, where I've said this before. I think there is a focus on a 5-out offense. People love shooting and it makes sense, right? Because the ball goes in the basket and it's exciting, but you don't need a 5-out offense to succeed. And when you look at the best lineups that have been featured, unless they have like Jokic, who is an MVP candidate because he won the MVP last year. Hell, even like the Kristaps Porzingis fives, like where they play 5-out with Porzingis, like they do well, but defensively not great. And also Porzingis, we all know about him. So when you get to Karl-Anthony Towns, it's not like you can't do well, but you're sacrificing something on defensive end. And we know what the Knicks like, right? We know that at the center position, they like guys who are not Karl-Anthony Towns. and this is the thing, right?
I know a coach who likes that.
Exactly. The thing about it is I understand the philosophy of, well, if the Knicks got a star, they'd make it work, right? They'd figure out a change of plans. But we have to consider fit, because the Knicks have chosen Julius Randle above any other possibility, right? Like we could say they're building around him and RJ Barrett, but the point is that they have financially invested in Randall. They haven't done that in Barrett yet because they haven't even been able to, but they just simply haven't. So
and just very quickly, if you think they're going to ship Julius Randle off to Minnesota,
no
to Minnesota, they're not doing that to him.
Hey, Julius, thanks so much for taking that discount. By the way,
appreciate.
Hope you like Minnesota in February. I've been to Minnesota in February.
You have?
I have. I was there for a convention in college, and the school flew me and a couple other friends in our club out there, and it was a lot of fun, just chilling there. But I wanted to experience what really cold weather was, because I just thought, like, hey, why don't I step outside while I'm waiting for the van to take me to the airport to leave this hellish place? It's fun. Don't get me wrong. Minnesota's cool, but
fun, but hellish.
Right. So I'm standing outside. It's negative 10 degrees, negative 30 wind chill, and my dumb brain that is still developing, that probably stunted because of the cold and left me just, a shell of what I could have been. Like, I had so much more potential, but the cold just ruined it. I step outside and my bones actually were cold. I was out there for maybe 5 minutes, couldn't feel my legs for another half hour because the wind chill just was that strong. All right, we're getting off track here, but that's what Minnesota can be in terms of the cold, which is why they have, the sky, the walkways between buildings, because why would you go outside?
It's that cold. They literally are like, you should not walk outside ever.
Exactly. But again, having Karl-Anthony Towns, Julius Randle, to me, it doesn't mask it on the defensive side at all. I think your rebounding suffers quite a bit, but that's the thing, right? Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel, Taj Gibson. I mean, even going as far as John Henson and Norvel Pell. This isn't a competition of talent, because we know Karl-Anthony Towns is better than all of them.
Yeah.
What it is that there's a clear, distinct archetype of what the Knicks have done repeatedly.
Yep.
And that's what Tom Thibodeau likes. And then you have Karl-Anthony Towns.
Jericho Sims.
Right. And Towns, to me, I feel like would thrive in the Julius Randle role, which is occupied by Julius Randle. So, and then it's like, if you're having Karl-Anthony Towns as a 4, what does that do to your team? How does that impact it? And again, the Knicks have improved their spacing drastically compared to last year. And we know what they like in the wing position and at the lead guard spot too. It's easy to see. I mean, again, Elfrid Payton, I think, is the anomaly. I think more with someone like Kemba Walker, with Emmanuel Quickley, Derrick Rose, players who can pull up nicely, right? And who can break down a defense. And on the wing spot, certainly scorers who can facilitate, at least in RJ's case, someone who can certainly defend. I don't think Fournier is terrible, but it's not as good as RJ Barrett. Point being here that the Knicks are setting themselves up where we can identify who works and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And at what position. And we can identify Karl-Anthony Towns does not work at the spot that they want, or that he would have to fit in as.
Well, let's just be very clear. Again, in the world that doesn't exist, that I know some fans wish did, if you could get Karl-Anthony Towns for pennies on the dollar, this conversation it does not apply. But that's not reality. If you're going to mortgage everything, because it would be everything to get that guy, and I'm not even necessarily saying Dame would be that much better, because guess what? Dame's 31 years old. Karl-Anthony Towns is whatever he is, 24, 25. There's a consideration there. But when you make that move, when it comes time to make that move, you want to make sure, beggars can't be choosers. But I don't think the Knicks are beggars anymore. So, and we've talked about that. And I actually think that is one thing that they talked about at the press conference on Friday. We've laid the foundation now where players, again, Steve Mills once said this too, so take it, I guess, with a grain of salt. But players are looking at the situation as hey, that's someplace I might want to go. I don't really have anything else to say on Towns.
I'll say this.
What?
Let's say the Knicks, for whatever reason, cashed in on Karl-Anthony Towns, right?
Sure.
Let's say they gave up a bunch of picks, some of their good young players, and they rolled with, at the very least, Karl-Anthony Towns and Julius Randle. So here's my question.
Yes.
What do the Knicks do next? Yeah. How do the Knicks continue to build a legitimate contender?
Yep.
Because they've cashed out for the most part. So when you look at the players who are likely to be on the market, and again, we didn't think Ben Simmons would be on the market with 4 years left. We didn't think Karl-Anthony Towns in this situation scenario is on the market with 3 years left. Anything's possible. But when you have those types of players, the cost is exponentially higher because you get that control. So we could then go to 2022, right? How are you going to facilitate something? Then 2023, cool. Okay. Maybe the price of some other guys is better, but you still have to make a trade to make it work. Point being, it becomes so much more challenging. And I think
it's a lot harder. It's not impossible. It's not impossible because nothing's ever impossible, but it becomes a lot
really hard. And that's, I think, ultimately where the Knicks are going to say, hey, we want to trade for a star. In fact, we want to figure out a way to get multiple other stars if we can. The question here is position wise, right? And I think that the Knicks just simply prioritize star level talent at the wing and the lead guard spot more than they would someone like a Karl-Anthony Towns center type.
It's not the Knicks, it's the league. I mean,
it is, but right. But yeah. I'm of course, but I'm saying that the Knicks specifically based on how they've been built, right? Like the Mavs, for example, they went in with the Porzingis trade. Like, okay, yeah, we know he's got a bust ACL and some allegations and he has a looming contract, all these things, but it's cool because he shoots threes and we want to do a 5-out offense and he's white and we basically want to try to figure out how we can win and he helps us. So the big thing,
shots
snuck that in there. So the big thing with Dallas though, is that they knew right away, right? We want a 5-out offense.
Yeah.
And the Knicks know right away, we don't want that. We want something that's more structurally sound, where it's two-way, where the Mavs set one of the greatest offenses. I mean, at the time, they set the greatest offense of all time. And since then, it also is no longer the greatest because offense has just skyrocketed. And,
the seven best offenses in the history of the league all happened last year. So
right. And we'll see if the new rules with offensive fouls, if that changes it. I think it might. But but the sort of thing again, where it's just yes, you can collect a lot of talent, but I think then this idea of 2K comes into play. It's not just grabbing all stars, putting them together and being like, cool, go. It's how does he fit around the players we are building around? Because the Knicks are building around Julius Randle. Hopefully they keep RJ Barrett in mind. To me, anyone else is fair game. And from there, you just build accordingly.